The desert doesn't greet you with a warning. It doesn't roar, or shout, or even whisper. It just exists, wide, silent, and indifferent. And somewhere inside that endless sheet of sand, a 27-year-old former schoolteacher named Ismail Tisfay is walking toward a future he can't fully see and a past he can't outrun. My name is Louis Theroux, and in this film, I'm traveling with a group of migrants crossing one of the most dangerous smuggling routes in North Africa. Their stories vary: poverty, conflict, lost family. But today, our journey focuses on one man, a soft-spoken Eritrean who carries both hope and guilt in equal measure. Ismail didn't want to be here. He didn't want to leave his mother, his two younger siblings, or the cracked concrete school where he used to teach basic mathematics. But life doesn't always ask for permission. Sometimes it simply pushes. The road out of Osmara, I first met Ismail at a safe house on the outskirts of a dusty border town. He sat quietly near a window, watching a group of children chase each other in the street, a familiar sight, one that seemed to ache inside him. "You were a teacher, right?" I asked. He nodded. "For 8 years. The children, they were the only thing that made it feel like home. So why leave?" Ismail didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his worn backpack and pulled out a photograph, a boy, maybe 15, smiling awkwardly at the camera. "My brother," he said softly. "He disappeared last year. Tried to cross. We never heard what happened." He paused. "I'm not looking for Europe, Louis. I'm looking for him." For a moment, the bustling noises around us felt muted. People often migrate for opportunity, but some migrate because standing still hurts more than leaving everything behind. The caravan, the smugglers, arrived just before dusk. 3 pickup trucks, dented and sand-scarred. No greetings, no explanations, just a short command: move, now. I climbed into the back of the 3rd truck, squeezed between a man from Sudan and a young woman from Ethiopia, holding a baby wrapped in a blanket. Ismail sat across from me, eyes fixed on the horizon as the engine growled to life. The trucks lurched forward. Dust rose behind us like smoke from an invisible fire. The further we drove, the more the world changed. Villages disappeared, roads vanished, landmarks thinned into nothing. Eventually, there was only desert as far as the eye could see. I turned to Ismail. "Do you feel prepared for this?" He smiled gently. "No one can be prepared for this, Louis. You just go." The price of hope hours passed. The wind turned cold, biting at our skin. The smugglers barely spoke, except to shout instructions. At one point, the convoy stopped near an abandoned checkpoint. One of the smugglers approached our group. "Water," he said, stretching out his hand. $50. A ripple of fear moved through the migrants. $50 was a fortune here, a month's income for some. But refusing wasn't an option, not in this place. I watched as people hesitated, argued, begged, and then slowly, reluctantly, money appeared. Ismail opened his backpack. All he had were a few worn bills. He handed them over. "How long will it last you?" I asked. Ismail shrugged. "Long enough if I don't drink too fast. But if I don't drink at all." He didn't finish the sentence. In the desert, choices aren't between good and bad. They're between bad and worse. The night-crossing night in the Sahara is a strange thing. It arrives suddenly, like an ambush. One moment you're surrounded by an ocean of gold. The next, you're swallowed by blackness so deep it erases the world. The smugglers turned off the headlights. "We drive dark," one of them whispered. "Too many eyes." I could barely see anything except the faint silhouettes of the people around me. A woman near the back began to pray softly. The baby whimpered. The truck's engine strained as it climbed a dune. Suddenly, a shout from the front. "Hold on." The truck pitched forward violently. For a second, I felt weightless, and then impact. The vehicle slammed into the sand at a steep angle, sending several migrants tumbling. "It stuck," one smuggler growled. The migrants scrambled out, forming a human chain to push the truck free. Sand poured into their shoes. Cold bit into their fingers, but they pushed anyway. Ismail was at the front, using his shoulder to brace the truck. When it finally broke free with a roar, the group exhaled collectively, a moment of victory in a place that offered none. I looked at him. "You're strong," I said. He shook his head. "I'm scared. That's different." The Abdon well around dawn. The convoy stopped at a site the smugglers called the well. It wasn't a well anymore, just a crumbling stone ring surrounded by empty cans, torn clothing, and footprints half buried in sand. A chilling silence hung over the place. This is where many groups stop, a smuggler explained. Some make it, some don't. His smile stepped toward the edge of the well. From above, it looked like a dark mouth carved into the earth. I think my brother passed here, he whispered his group. They were stranded. Someone said they waited by a well. I watched him place his hand on the cold stone. His fingers trembled slightly. Do you think he made it? I asked gently. He didn't look up. I don't know, but if he didn't, I want to see where he was. In that moment, I realized his journey wasn't just about escape. It was an act of remembrance. The human cost later. We spoke away from the group. The desert was quiet, almost peaceful, a deceptive peace. Ismail, I said, you were a teacher. You had a community. You had a future. Why risk all of this? He sat in silence for a while, drawing patterns in the sand with a stick. Have you ever watched a life disappear? He finally asked. I've seen people die, I said. No, I mean, disappear. He looked at me. You wake up one day, and someone you love is gone. No goodbye, no warning, just gone. He swallowed. You can live with poverty, you can live with fear, but you cannot live with not knowing. His voice broke slightly. That's why I'm here. The desert takes its due on the third day. One of the migrants collapsed, a teenager from Mali. Dehydration, exhaustion, the cruel mathematics of the desert. The smugglers argued. They insisted they had no room, no time, no supplies. The group pleaded. The smugglers refused. Eventually, the boy was left behind, propped against a rock for shade. Ismail knelt beside him, placed a hand on his shoulder, whispered something into Grinya. Perhaps a prayer, perhaps a promise. When he finally stood, he looked older. We can't just leave him, he said. We don't have a choice. One smuggler snapped. Ismail turned to me. Do you think anyone will find him? I wanted to lie. I wanted to say yes. But the desert is not a place where lies survive. I don't know, I said softly. The last miles by now, everyone walked with a limp or a stagger. Faces burned, lips cracked. Hope thinned into something fragile, something that could break with a single gust of wind. But Ismail kept moving, one step after another. At one point he said, you know, every teacher tells their students to keep going, even when it's hard. He smiled weakly. I guess now I must listen to my own lessons. The border finally, after 4 days that felt like years, a faint line of buildings appeared on the horizon. A border town, shelter, water, life. The migrants began to cry, laugh, collapse. The smugglers vanished almost immediately, taking their money and disappearing into the chaos. I followed Ismail as he approached a small aid tent. A volunteer handed him a bottle of water. He didn't drink at first. Instead, he held it in his hands, staring at it as if unsure it was real. Then he turned to me. Louis, he said quietly, if my brother made it this far, he would have come through here. Do you want to ask around? I said. He nodded. And together, we stepped into the crowd, a swirling mix of survivors, hopefuls, and ghosts of journeys past. The ending, or the beginning. We never learned what happened to Ismail's brother. Not on that day, or the days that followed. But Ismail stayed at the border town for 3 weeks, volunteering, helping new arrivals, asking questions, listening to names. Sometimes hope isn't a destination. Sometimes it's the act of searching. On my last day with him, I asked, do you regret coming here? He thought for a long time. No, he finally said, because if he's alive, he'll follow this path. And if he's not, I want to be the one who carries his story. As I walked away, I looked back and saw him standing among a new group of exhausted travelers, offering water to a woman who could barely hold her child upright, a teacher, still teaching. Even here, the desert takes much, but it doesn't take everything. Some things survive: hope, memory, love that refuses to disappear, and sometimes that's enough.